Yet another reincarnation story. Isn't that concept starting to get old? Well, to me at least, that depends on what spin the author puts on it. And I liked what Yanagino Kanata did with the Faraway Paladin, also known as saihatenopaladin. So our hero dies, but has vague memories of his past life remaining when he reincarnates into a fantastical world. Since he still remembers that he wasted his past life, he is dead set on making the most of this new chance he was given. Oddly enough, he finds himself reincarnated as a human child called Will, but instead of human parents, his guardians are a skeleton daddy, a mommy, and a ghost grandpa. And on top of that, they live in an abandoned ruined town with no other living soul nearby. So how did a human baby end up there? That's only one of the several mysteries young Will has to figure out in the Faraway Paladin. I love the setting with Will being reincarnated in a ruined city and taken care of by 3 members of the undead. I had so many questions right from the get-go, and I loved wondering about all that alongside Will until he finally gets to know what these 3 undead are doing there and how he came to be raised by them. I also really liked the way the world was built up and these secrets were revealed bit by bit until all of it came together at the end. The climax at the end was a good resolution to the story so far and had a big emotional impact on me. Sure, it's obvious that a book called The Faraway Paladin will feature gods, but I really liked how they were included in the whole reincarnation plot. I think this was the first time that the reincarnation actually felt intrinsic to the plot. For other isekai I've read or watched, it didn't really matter that much if they were transported there through a portal or reborn. But here it was in line with the theme of the book and the plot revolving around the gods. While the main character Will was a bit bland so far, Mary the Mummy, Blood the Skeleton and Gus the Ghost were archetypal. Blood is the rough warrior who teaches Will about martial arts and being a man. Gus is the scheming mage who begrudgingly teaches Will about magic, and Mary is the motherly priestess who teaches Will about basically everything else. Wait, Tamarantula, isn't that a weakness? Did you get your sections wrong, you may ask? Well, at first I thought it was. Especially for Mary, I was like, sheesh, what a boring way to write a female character. But I was wrong. She turned out to be a really deep character and arguably the most important one to put Will on the path of a paladin. For Blood and Gus, the author also managed to make me look past their archetypes and see individual characters in them. Because through their interactions with each other and with Will, they felt like actual people and quite ironically made them spring to life in my mind. And I like that unlike in many other light novels, this one didn't throw a cute girl at the reincarnated protagonist. He grows up with only his family of the 3 undead as companions until he is 17. So for future novels, I hope the author will take that into account and deliver some hilarious lines from this more than likely socially awkward dude. Another strong point of this light novel is how it tackles the philosophical aspects behind death, reincarnation and immortality. Saying much more than this would risk spoilers, so I won't, but I think that the way this was handled was pretty good and left a lasting impression on me. This book basically felt like the events in a regular novel leading up to the inciting incident of a larger story, which actually makes sense since this is the setup for Will's journeys in future novels. Because of this, there is a lot of build-up, and the first 50% of the book basically amount to Will just learning about martial arts, magic, and everyday life in this new world. I like the slow introduction to the world and characters, but it takes a while for the pace to pick up. So if you prefer fast-paced stories with a lot of different subplots, then I would consider this a weakness. But keep in mind that the author intended for this book to just be practice and first uploaded it as a web novel. Against his expectations, he was approached to have the story published. So this is why this book probably feels more like a prologue to a grander story. Because that is precisely what it is. Other than that, to me the main character at times was so harsh on himself that it felt a bit unnatural and had me cringe 1 or 2 times. Like, give yourself a break, dude. So that depiction of his inner struggle could have been handled a bit better, but it was okay. Overall, I like the main character, but I hope he'll develop a more interesting personality in the following books. As I said, the plot takes its time to pick up the pace, but I actually enjoyed the world building. The ending rounds up the story in a good way and felt satisfying. So to me the plot was a solid 3.5 out of 5. The main character is interesting, but still more on the generic side. I hope the author will develop Will more in the upcoming novels, but I really loved Mary, Blood and Gus. The 3 of them elevate the characters to a 3.5 out of 5. So far I like the world building. I don't want to rob you of the experience of discovering it in the first 50% of the book, so I won't go into further details here. But I think it's a cool take on the whole reincarnation trope, and even though we don't get to see a lot of the world in this book, it feels like there's still a lot out there to discover. So the world building might get even better in the upcoming novels, but for the time being the world building doesn't go past the 3.5 out of 5. I really like the purposely messy art style applied to the illustrations made by Rin Kususaga. They fit the tone of the book really well and deserve a 4.5 out of 5. The prose is not exactly fancy, but fitting for a light novel. I've read better prose in other light novels, but it was still among the better ones. And I was really immersed in the story while reading. So the prose gets a 3 out of 5 from me. I enjoyed the time I spent in this book. And I will definitely pick up the next volume, since The Faraway Paladin made me curious about the journey ahead of Will and what this world still has in store. So for overall enjoyment, this book gets a 4 out of 5 from me. What do you think about reincarnation stories, and which one is your favorite? Out of the few I know so far, I think I still prefer So I'm a Spider, So What, but that's mainly because Kumiko is such an engaging main character. But I actually think The Faraway Paladin used the concept in a more interesting way. I for one am really looking forward to the anime adaptation of this light novel coming out this fall. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in future videos. Anyway, farewell.